This is my other arcade cabinet. Similar to the JAMA one, this is a Velux cabinet, but with one huge difference. This one has a Raspberry Pi inside that runs Mame. We've already gone over the basic hardware and the controls in these cabinets, so this video is going to focus on Mame and the Raspberry Pi. The interface is pretty easy. All you do is you push down and up to select your different games, and the first action button will actually start a game. If you want to go switch quickly, you can push right or left, and that will take you to the next letter. Now, I don't have a ton of games on here because I just wanted to have the games that I played instead of having 10,000 games that I'm not going to look at and going to have to scroll through every time. Currently, we're utilizing 4 different emulators on this. The Pi Mame 2003, Pi Mame 2010, Final Burn Alpha, and Daphne. Most games run fine on Mame 2003, but some games like Hyper Street Fighter 2 need Mame 2010 to run. Street Fighter 3 required Final Burn Alpha to make it work, and I'll talk a little bit about getting the controls working on that later. The Laserdisc games like Dragon's Lair and Super Don Quixote needed Daphne to run, and it runs really well. Tying all the emulators together into one interface is Attract Mode. Attract Mode is a front end similar to Hyperspin, but it runs really well on the Pi, which is why we went with Attract Mode instead of Hyperspin. Attract Mode gives you tons of options for layouts. There's different layouts and you can customize them to your liking. You can even download new layouts if you don't like this classic arcade machine look with the scrolling wheel on the side. I've customized the arcade machine on the left-hand side to look like our Velux cabinets here. All the games are set up to use their required emulators, so you never have to know which game needs which emulator. You just start it and it goes. It's completely invisible to the player how it works. I've been working on this disk image for Mame for a couple weeks now, and the best advice that I have to give anybody who's trying to set one up is that Retroarch and its control configurations are the devil themselves. There's so many layers of control abstraction, and it works great if you're setting it up for a regular controller, but as soon as you get into Mame and arcade controls, it just doesn't work. So what I ended up having to do is overwrite all the Retroarch config files and do each game individually with its own controls, and it's a little bit of setup, but it ends up working really well. The most difficult emulator to set up was actually Final Burn because it still wanted to use the Retroarch controls after changing some of the configuration files. And it took me a good solid day to actually figure out how to make it work. I usually wouldn't have bothered, but I really like Street Fighter 3, and well, you gotta have Final Burn if you're gonna run Street Fighter 3. One of the most important things to me when I was setting up this cabinet was to make it look like an arcade machine when you turned it on, and so it didn't look just like a computer that was running things. So I'll show you. You turn it on with its power switch right here in the coin door. And it takes just a second. But it starts up with this intro video that I got off of YouTube. I sped it up a little bit. What it's doing is it's actually hiding all the text that the Pi starts up with. So it gives it kind of a more professional look and less like a do-it-yourself hacky look. And then it starts right into Attract Mode right there. Start a game. Again, just push that button. Then you do have to look at this screen for a little while, but the game will just start right up. And there it is. So just like the other cabinet, I have a button set for credits because I don't always want to use coins. You hit that right there. Hit the start button, select a character, and it works just like any other arcade machine. And turbo. The image is nice and clear. It's just an HDMI cord going straight from the Raspberry Pi up to the LCD TV, so there's no video conversion like we have to do in the other cab. I think this looks a little bit cleaner than the other one, actually. I haven't noticed any lag. The Raspberry Pi and the iPac 2 is pretty fast. Inside the control panel looks a little messy and complicated, but it really isn't. There are twice as many wires because we needed power and grounds to run the LEDs, but all the buttons go through this iPAC2 interface right here, which then has one USB cable that plugs right into the Pi. Inside the cabinet is pretty similar to the other one. We have the same kind of coin acceptor, we've got an audio amplifier, and we've got a power supply. Unlike the other cabinet, the power supply doesn't run the game. All it's running is the coin acceptor, the audio amplifier, and the LED buttons. The brains behind the whole unit is that tiny little Raspberry Pi 3. The Raspberry Pi 3 is plugged in along with the TV monitor to these two outlets here, and the outlets then go to the switch in the coin door and then to the power. It's easy to back out of games. All you have to do is hit this button here. And when using a Raspberry Pi, it's really important to shut it down correctly. You can't just shut down the power because you have a good chance of having your card corrupted as it's trying to write some files. Luckily, Attract Mode lets us assign a little script or a little command so that when you shut it shuts it down correctly. I have it set to hit those two buttons, hit yes, and it shuts down what they call gracefully. After it's shut down, you can just hit the power switch right in the coin door and turn the machine off. It's just as easy as that. I don't have a huge ROM set on here because I don't like scrolling through thousands and thousands of games that I'm never going to play. I took a couple days last week and programmed a program that interfaces with the Raspberry Pi through SSH, so you can just add the games that you like, and it'll even tell you if you have the artwork attached, like the image on the right-hand side, the marquee, and the little video file that plays. By using this little program, it stops us from wanting to upload thousands of ROMs at a time, and it gives us a really nice presentation. We also never have to take the Pi out of the machine or even hook a keyboard up to it. It's a completely headless design, and it just works through the network.
Of course, if you still want to add batches of ROMs, you can still use FTP or SSH through WinSCP or whatever your favorite file transfer program is. So that's the in and outs of our Mame cab. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them. And be sure to check out our other arcade videos where we go over different controls and our JAMA cab. Thanks for watching.